Welcome, everybody, to another Microsoft Unboxed pod. This is episode 67. We are back. We took some time off. We'll get into why we took some time off in another pod. We just want to make sure we get you guys into the news as quickly as possible, get you back on track if you've missed anything or if you've ventured off to other podcasts. Welcome back. I'm your host today, Kareem Anderson.
And I'm David Allen. Hope everybody's doing well out there today on this fall Friday here in North Carolina. A little cooler today. I'll take it.
Yeah, we'll be heading into the Labor Day weekend, so we will get you abreast on the news and out as quickly as possible. Today, we're going to be talking about Microsoft finally introducing its own small language models. We've been talking about them for weeks, months, feels like almost a year now. We'll talk about what they are, how they work, what it means for the company's AI strategy going forward, and its tumultuous relationship with OpenAI. We'll also be talking about Intel getting a government boost, what that means for the company, what that means for the government, what that means for your pocketbook, and what it means for the future of chip making. And then we'll be getting into some more fun stuff, kind of round up the news with some Xbox Cloud gaming news. We had Samsung, I think last week, unveiled its foldable phone, which, Google unveiled its its foldable stuff. But underneath all that news, Samsung rolled out a Galaxy 10s Lite. They just love sticking with the 10s right now for the tabs. We'll talk about that and how it could be a great deal for people going forward for Android tablets, since Google apparently has no interest in the market, or at least is lukewarm on it once again. And then we'll be talking about college football because this weekend
Season started last night.
There you go. Exactly. Well, I mean, was that preseason still?
No, it was regular season.
For college football. You're right.
Yeah, for a few teams last night. Yeah. Regular football's next week, buddy. Next week.
Yeah, exactly. Last night could have been the end of everyone's national title adventure, depending on who you're rooting for.
So you still got a week to buy your beer for the next week, buddy. Next week.
There you go. Exactly. With that being said, let's get into Microsoft's homegrown AI models. And again, we got the news not late yesterday, but like mid-afternoon-ish. And it's basically Microsoft saying, hey, all that work that we've been quietly doing and that no one's really been focusing on, we're done with it. Again, on this podcast, we've told you guys about the small language models. They are an alternative to your large language models, which are, widely known as your ChatGPTs, your Geminis, Copilot, which is, cover for ChatGPT. This is an alternative. This is for Microsoft's new direction, I believe. They want to start introducing these small language models, which use fewer resources, more tailored, aren't your kitchen sink general language models that can try and be a jack of all trades and a master of none. These are supposed to be a master of at least one thing. The first model that we have on the description block is MAI-1, I believe. MAI-1 Voice 1, which is I guess it's designed to do podcasting essentially, which I think I might be a little afraid of. The voice, it's speech-focused innovation. It generates a model focused on natural, expressive, and voice synthesis. It aims to improve accessibility, voice assistance, and real-time translation. The model supports multilingual capabilities and emotional nuances in speech. So again, if you are doing any type of closed captioning, you're doing any type of translation, voice dubbing, any sorts of things like that, it will produce voices for that. And again, this will be extrapolated for things like Copilot voicing or Gemini voicing or anything like that needs voice pronunciation or a little clearer than that. So if you're thinking about, what does this mean as far as you being able to use it or businesses using it, I've been saying this since AI showed up. This will be your call centers. So you will no longer be hearing the dulcet tones of your Indian friends or your Filipino friends overseas when it comes to answering phone calls, at least if you're in the US. If you're in Europe, I know, perhaps you get the same ones as well. if you're in the Philippines or in those other areas, maybe you get the same ones. Maybe they're all just out in those areas. But I believe they're going to try and start innovating, at least here in the U.S., to make it sound like you're speaking to someone from the U.S. and even from someone in specifically in your region. So if you're from Georgia, you may have someone who has an quote unquote authentic AI Georgian accent, make you feel more at home, even though you're still speaking to a robot. The second model is I'm sorry, that was the second one. The first one is the first large language model developed entirely in house, and it's designed for more general purpose tasks like reasoning and summarization, not writing stories or making you fall in love or whatever those other ones we were previously doing. The model is again mostly for research and to help developers. It reportedly had over 500 billion parameters to be placed amongst it for testing. Microsoft is testing these internally, but has released them for developers to start kind of playing with. You can kind of get access to that via Microsoft 365 for Business or Azure AI. What are your thoughts on these two models coming out and where Microsoft's trying to go?
Well, it's, like we said, kind of off mic here, they're focusing the models to sell it to specific groups of people. So maybe they can sell it a little cheaper, bundle it in with a subscription. That way they're not paying the complete 35, $40 for the entire Copilot. Now, looking at the names here, MA1 Voice, MA1 Preview, that tells me that's not a public facing product to start with. That's something that's specialized for business. It doesn't have the Microsoft marketing on that. Now, the one where, creating podcasts could be involved, that's a little, like you said, that's a little scary, a little concerned about that. But as always, I tell people, this AI is pretty good, but check your results, make sure it makes sense. And then, of course, there's always the concern of, like you said, with call centers, with some of the reasons we've been away, I have had to deal with a lot of call centers. And you can tell that some of these call centers are already using these AI prompts, because I can tell by the way they're answering me back. So, that's job loss that we've also discussed. And for me, that's concerning. Anytime AI takes a job from a human being, I feel like you lose that human interaction, that human empathy, that human compassion that, you might get on the other end of that phone line. But I think we're at the point to where this is where we're going to go. And unless there's a technical issue that somebody or something can't be overcome later, or there starts to be financial issues, we should get used to these models. This is the way it's going to be.
Yeah, I also wanted to get your thoughts on Microsoft's move in relation to OpenAI. Where do you think this puts those two who are already kind of butting heads?
I think it gets them further, I don't want to say this, closer to a divorce. I think the more you see, Microsoft developing their own, I think Sam is sitting over there in his office twirling his ink pen. Those people over there, they're doing their own thing. They're not using our stuff. And I think eventually he gets mad and goes to Microsoft and says, look, are you using our stuff or not? Because I don't think these two people necessarily need each other anymore. Microsoft has the intellectual property that they need from the start of the relationship to do what they need to do, but I don't think it's needed anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think as soon as Microsoft partnered with OpenAI, they were already getting their notepads ready for this eventual reality. I think, again, as with anybody who's partnering, I think we have rumors that Apple's trying to partner with, who was it? Drawing a blank,
Well,
but it's not Google. It's another like big one, Anthropic.
and the latest, not to go too far in left field, but the latest headline is Google and Apple are back in conversation.
And well, because I think Apple's getting desperate-ish. Uh, because again, I think there are only a few companies, and I will give Google credit. They were working on this a long time ago, and they probably as much as we give them flack about stuff, I think they had researchers and developers who had a conscience and was like, aside from the business of it cannibalizing its own business, they were just like, you know what, we're not ready for this to come out yet. So they didn't. They sat on it. They were probably amongst one of the first companies to start developing AI in this type of consumer way. Uh, but Microsoft saw an opportunity with OpenAI and how far advanced they were, and that nobody else was in this lane, and partnered with them. But we're also thinking at some point, I think even OpenAI had to realize that you can't be in software unless you are partnered with one of the big three, four, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
three or four. And at some point, they will. What is it called? Sherlock? Isn't it Sherlock? No, is that the term? When like they basically take your whole company and make it just a feature amongst their own offering. I think it's
I have
Sherlock.
heard
Yeah.
it refer. Yeah, I think
Apple
it is.
does it
I
a
think
lot,
it is
definitely.
Sherlock. Yes, yes. Apple does that a lot.
So at some
Procreate
point, I
being
think
one of them.
OpenAI, yeah, I think OpenAI is just trying to hoover on as much money as possible, and maybe cash out when the iron is hot. And again, they must have saw this coming, but we'll keep an eye on this. We probably won't be able to test these to give you guys firsthand knowledge on these, but we will, as more news comes out, keep you guys updated on it. The next thing we have is the U.S. government now owns 10% of Intel, and we're going to tell you why. For those of you who may be living under a rock, I believe it was earlier this week, maybe even late last week. I think it was late last week or no, actually, this goes back probably about a month or so, when the Trump administration decided to single out the CEO of Intel for various reasons, jingoistics amongst some of them, and protectionist and security reasons. Even though Intel's, an American company, it happens to have an Asian CEO who was just appointed, I believe, was it the beginning of this year, end of last year?
In the last year, I believe.
Yeah, to basically turn the company's fortunes around. Over the last, I mean, in the tech industry, we've been documenting over the last decade, Intel's kind of been behind. Ever since they kind of lost their ability to kind of get in on mobile, they've been struggling. Now they have, they're big in servers, but they haven't been doing well in computers, PCs, or in mobile, and those are kind of the two biggest shifts. We know that Apple moved away from them about 4 years ago now, almost. M5, M4. I don't know how they did it. So,
And remember, Apple has recently moved away from them for the internal chips, such as the Wi-Fi chips, the Bluetooth chips, and
mm,
everything. Is Apple's got their own. That's what they're touting for this year's Apple event. Is Apple's got their own chips and their own devices, and that's just closing out these chip makers even more.
yeah, and again, we know that Apple's not the biggest driver in the market. I think they have about over a little over 14% of the PC market, but they do hold a future. There are a lot of kids who grew up using Macs that are Mac only now, and again, they're not in phones. So if you're not on iOS, you're not in the iPads, you aren't in tablets really. Microsoft's the only one that kind of makes a PC tablet esque. There's a few
Mm-hmm.
other ones, but everyone else moved to Android, which is Snapdragon. So we said all this to say that they're kind of struggling. They're kind of restructuring. They've had a bunch of mass layoffs. They are scrapping projects, and they had a 5-year plan that kind of went nowhere. We're in year 5 of that, and they wanted to be a fab for other people, and we're starting to see them kind of move away from that as well. Nevertheless, the Trump administration came in. They want to secure chip making here in the U.S. I believe the Biden administration wanted to do that as well with the CHIPS Act, and bring some of that chip making back here to the U.S. They've invested 10% into Intel, basically to float it while it works on bringing some onshoring, some more chip making. But this is I want to say that I want to bring this news up because it's a warning sign, because the last few times we've done something similar to this, it was the bailing out the banks. And you
Mm-hmm.
guys remember that during the housing market crash, we propped them up. We did the same thing with autos. The auto industry, I believe, is GM. I think the government took about 60% of controlling stake in that to keep them afloat. And then we did a similar thing again. When was this? During mortgages, the housing market crashed. The government assumed control of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to kind of stabilize that as well. So it may only seem like 10% right now, but if the government's getting involved in Intel, that again, to keep it afloat here in the US, it may be troubling. And especially if Intel can't figure out a way, again, they've had almost 10 years to try and figure out a way uh, to get into the market or restabilize itself. It'll be interesting to see when the government says, "Hey, you're not returning the investment we have." What are your thoughts on this?
Anytime the government gets involved in things like this, I get a little antsy because, you know, those relationships can prosper, but eventually they end. Eventually, the government has to say, "Look, we're tired of, putting money into you," or if the relationship continues, we get to the point where we want more. We want a bigger stake in your company because remember, we propped you up a little bit. Now you're making money, so we want more. So then you end up with a government funded, a government ran Intel. I don't think we'll get to that point, but it's always a possibility. Because right now, with politics and business in this country, we don't know where we're going. I understand why we propped up Intel. I just don't like what the outcomes could possibly be because I don't see a situation where 6 months, a year from now, 5 years from now, they say, well, you know, we were glad to help you, Intel. You're okay now. You're on your own footing. We're just going to walk away. No, they're going to want something in return. And you're talking about a major chip maker, not only in our country, but in the world. And when this walkaway happens, who is in the White House and how do they feel about it?
Oh
You know,
yeah, definitely.
you know,
To your point, again, I know we are a very polarized society, and you can take however you want with which administration is in the office. But the facts of the matter is that the Trump administration converted about $11.1 billion of the CHIPS Act grant into 10% equity stake in Intel and moved aimed at security domestic semiconductor production and advanced for national security purposes, is what they say. Uh, all it was is a moving of money and titles because, again, the CHIPS Act was designed to give Intel an incentive to build here, basically saying, like, hey, if you start building here first, this allotment of money will be set aside for you to help you guys over the span of the next 10 years. What the Trump administration did was basically took that money, turned it into stock buy, and then bought into the company. Again, it's not helping with the manufacturing
no,
necessarily, not in the indirect way that the Biden administration tried to be. This is more very, very, very direct way, but nevertheless, that money was already kind of assigned for Intel. And mind you, we talked about this actually a few months back that they had a bigger allotment, and the government was like, "Whoa, you guys don't seem to be very good with money, so we're gonna hold off and see how you do." So we will keep an eye on this. I do want to talk about some potential downsides because I know you were talking about that. One of them is the dilution of existing shareholders. The government's
mm-hmm.
acquired shares at a discount, reducing the value. So if you are in Intel, you may see an exodus of people from that stock, at least for right now. There's reduced government flexibility. Intel warned that the government state could limit its ability to pursue future beneficial transactions, but this Trump administration seems to be pro transactions, pro partnerships, and things like that. There's international risk because there's about 7% of Intel's revenue comes from non-U.S. buyers. So some international clients may view the Trump administration, the U.S. government getting involved as kind of a liability, especially if they feel like the U.S. might try and copy their intellectual properties, like some other nations do. There's regulatory complications abroad. Intel could face new restrictions under foreign subsidy laws, basically saying like, hey, now that the government's part of your organization, you can and can't work in these sectors or sell to these businesses or governments. The free market erosion. Critics argue that this sets a precedent for deeper government intervention. We can get into that at another time. There's a little legal ambiguity. At the end of the day, though, it's market risk exposure. Unlike past crises that we've had where we had to back things up, this is basically taxpayer money put into a more volatile market. Now, the other ones had already crashed, so you're building it up. This one, we're actively could be watching it still crash, even though we invested. Instead of telling Intel, "Hey, build here, start working here, and this money's for you," we're saying, "Hey, the better you do, the better our stock is and our investment is. The worse you do, that money could just disappear, and we have no control over that." So those are some potential downsides for that.
It could be good, it could be okay, it could be ugly. I think there's a chance for all three of those.
I think to be honest with you, I think it'll be like you said. It might just be all of them, just over the span of however long this relationship goes on for. If it goes on
Yeah.
this administration, the next, it could be all three. With that being said, let's move into some brighter news. We can round up the weekend and get you guys off to enjoying your Labor Day weekend. This next story is for you, my friend.
Yes, it is. I found this one interesting as well. For those folks that like, I'm raising my hand over here, the Xbox Cloud Gaming Service, you've had to have the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription to take advantage of the cloud gaming service. Well, now that is changing. You can have any of the Xbox subscriptions, the core or the standard, and you are going to get access to the streaming services for cloud gaming. And you also get access to stream some, not all, some PC games. So Xbox Microsoft is really kind of stretching out the cloud gaming offering here. And, maybe this is a play for getting more people to buy into even the smaller memberships, the less expensive memberships, because, I'll admit there are a lot of people that I know that want to do cloud gaming, but don't need everything that the Ultimate tier offers. Maybe they don't have that PC, to take advantage of the PC side. They just want to stream their Xbox titles. So, way to go, Microsoft, for making this a part of it. Right now, it's a part of the Insider program. You can join today by downloading the Xbox Insider Hub on your Xbox Series X, Xbox One, or Windows PC. And if you really want it all, just remember the Game Pass Ultimate is still out there. You do get the benefit of EA Play for something we're getting ready to talk about here in a minute, with Madden 26 and College Football 26 for those that are interested. But kudos to Microsoft for jumping out there, making cloud gaming available to everybody. I think this is just part of the revolution, the change that we're going to go through as the gaming industry makes a push for cloud gaming.
Yeah, no, I agree. Again, it is bittersweet to have this much accessibility to gaming while the gaming industry is being decimated. So I
Yes,
wish that
yes.
we could have both. I wish that we could have developers still creating greater games to have even more content to play with this, ability to have access to play it almost anywhere. Again, it feels like we're getting, a handful of one, and while we're losing a little bit of the other. So but it's still great news. And if you guys get a chance to, or those of you who are waiting to, maybe you weren't looking to get an Xbox. I know times are going to be pretty tight going forward for a lot of people, myself included. Maybe you don't have the budget for an Xbox, but you do already own a PC. You do maybe have a smart TV or something of that nature. You go out and buy yourself a $40, $50 game controller, and you can still be set. So there's that.
I take full advantage of our Xbox gaming streaming services on a regular basis these days. I'll say that.
Bingo. We got some hardware real quick. We're going to toss in some hardware in the middle of this
Yep.
gaming break.
Let's throw in some hardware. Samsung decided to throw out as you mentioned earlier in the pod, they like sticking with the S10 name. So we have the Galaxy, let's make sure I get this right, the Galaxy Tab S10 Lite. It is a pretty cool little tablet based on the spec sheet. You've got an 8,000 milliamp battery that is super fast charging. Let's see, you have the 10.9 inch screen with vision boosters, what they're calling 600 nits of brightness. Streaming, browsing, that's kind of where you're at here. Streaming, browsing, schoolwork. You've got the handwriting assistant, the math solver with the S Pen. You do have full S Pen compatibility. You've got split view. And of course, you've got that Samsung AI baked in with circle to search, the Galaxy AI view, and all those creative hub tools that Samsung offers with Samsung AI. Now, what is interesting to me about this is the market that they have hit here. I think we have reached kind of where you said there's a point where people want access to their content, but they want access to their content in the most inexpensive way. And this is one of those devices. It doesn't have the big AMOLED screen that they talk about. It doesn't have the most powerful processor. It does have the S Pen that is important, I think, with any tablet these days. It's just a good all-around device. Maybe your family tablet, maybe your school tablet, maybe all the above. You can game, you can cloud game on this. There is an Xbox app for Android. You can pick this up, pair it with your Bluetooth controller, and you're off.
I think, yeah. Don't you have to? I think you have to go to the browser, right? Through that for that one.
Yep, you are correct. I'm sorry.
Just
You
make
do
sure.
have to go.
There is an Xbox app that will store your captures, so you can replay those, or see your achievements, view the games you want to play. But I think in order to do the cloud, because I just did this 2 nights ago, I was like, why can't I play the game? To do cloud gaming because of App Store regulations, BS.
That's right.
Fighting that. You have to go to the X. So you can do it in Chrome. You can do it in Edge. I don't know if you can do it in Safari, but you go to the browser, type in Xbox Cloud, sign in there with your account, and then you have access to game streaming through the browser. Sorry, keep going.
Okay, so I'm glad you threw that in there, because you remember there was a time where we had the Xbox app, then we had the Xbox Game Pass app, then we had an Xbox Cloud app, and it was all confusing about where you were supposed to go and go where. So even I was confused there. Sorry, folks. I'm glad you jumped in on that one. Let's see what else we have. And something I left out. Good for taking notes in classes and meetings here with this tablet, because you've got your pen, you've got your portability, you've got it's inexpensive. I did not see a price for this one. Did you see a price for this one when you posted this?
I did not, because I think it's going to be offered in select regions, and I don't know if they gave out the information for that just yet. But when they do, we will update it. But for now, at least know that they will be making this available soon. Again, we have the FE here in the States. This is slightly different than the FE, and so it may only be for international markets. Who knows? But having owned a Tab S myself, these things are very flexible, very useful. They're my road. They're my road trip computer. You can get a lot done with them. You pair it up with a Bluetooth mouse of some sort. I usually use the Surface Arc because it lays flat. It's very small, compact in your bag. You can use it as most computers, aside from being, if you're a content creator of some sort that uses a Premiere or DaVinci Resolve, not obviously the best device for it. But if you're, making stuff for Instagram posts, TikTok, things like that, CapCut does great on here. There is Canva. They, a lot of useful things. Again, these things come with Gemini AI as well. So if you are trying to do schoolwork, summarize stuff on the go, say you just had a lengthy chemistry class, you took a bunch of notes, you have screenshots of the board, everything that's written down, and you want to, translate that into something that you can study later on, you can do that with these things. So I say, if you can get your hands on one of these things, I suggest it. Again, we said this at the top that Google seems to have vacated the space once again. I know Lenovo makes some good devices. These are probably just easier to find and get. You don't have to go online. You probably go to your next store and hold it and feel it and touch and play around with it. But I couldn't recommend these enough. So that's great. Last story, we got college football.
Yep, I just wanted to throw this in there because I know you guys have missed. I've actually got a couple of emails about, Hey, David, where the free play days are, and we'll get into why we haven't had free play days later. But free play days for today are back. They started yesterday, Thursday, August 28th, and they last through Sunday, August 31st. Doesn't seem like we're at the end of August, but we are. We have a time trial, which is a 2-hour time trial for nightly. You do not have to have any type of Xbox membership for that one, so feel free to just jump right in there. We have Surviving Mars, and we have Lost. I'm going to try to pronounce this. Edelons? We'll go with that. College football.
That works for me too.
College Football 26. That is a new title. It's in its second year of iteration. College Football 25 was the long-awaited return of college football on consoles after 10 years by EA Sports. So the sequel is out, College Football 26. So make sure you check that out this weekend with the start of college football season. I can tell you, yours truly here put in a lot of hours on College Football 25 streaming on my Lenovo Legion Go. There was a lot of streaming hours put in there. I have not tried 26 yet, but if 26 is anything like 25, we've got a winner on our hands, in my opinion. Now, always remember with these free play days, these games are usually very much on sale during the free play day time. So if you're liking something, make sure you pick that out. Like, for example, the Nightling is $23. Surviving Mars is $29.99. I've got to say that word again. Lost Inclinons is $20.99. College football is on sale for $62.99. Now, interestingly, when I was looking at these yesterday and downloading this demo, when I logged into Xbox.com, it says, because you play this game often, here's a special discount. And it offered me the game for $47. Now, so make sure you log in and take a look. That's something new that we haven't seen.
Just as a side note, because we like to keep our listeners educated, I just looked up the pronunciation. I was almost saying it dumb, of the word of the Lost, and it's Eidolon.
Eidolon.
Yes.
Sorry.
Like the I-U-I-E, Lon. Again, I didn't know how to pronounce it. I just typed it up. I was like, you know what? We should probably figure that out now that we have AI and we already had Google search. I mean, hopefully I didn't burn down a forest doing that. I think I used regular Google search for this one. It didn't give me the insight. So, hopefully that is what happened.
See, here we are using AI during our
Again, I'm hoping it's just regular search. Just regular capitalism burning down a forest, not hyper.
There was a GPU that took a hit in there somewhere.
Dang it. But continue. If that was it, we can wrap it up as well if you want.
But that was pretty much it. Free play days. I think College Football 26 will have a lot of players this weekend. I'm going to try to sneak in some time and get some College Football 26 time this weekend while I'm running around and trying to keep track of some college football on my television. But that's all I have, unless you have anything else, my friend.
No. Go ahead.
We'll get these folks out of here and get them on their holiday weekend, their football, their beverage of choice, their parties, whatever they choose. A little FanDuel here, a little DraftKings there. Somebody win some, somebody lose some. We can.
Sounds great. I just wanted to make, again, try and be as transparent as possible. We've been gone for the summer. A lot's been happening. I had some conferences to go to. David's had work. I've also had, I just bought a home. So I've been in the midst of moving and haven't really had an office to set up with. Thank you very much. I don't know if David wants to speak to what's been going on briefly, just to let everybody know, hey, we want to send out our love and thoughts for his situation. It's up to him.
Yes, my father had a stroke back on July 17th. So I've been going through a change of life. He's still with us now. I want to make that clear. He's still with us, but stroke was a major stroke. So we've got a long road ahead of us and a lot of changes to go through. And we're just gonna, if for those that are religious, we appreciate the prayers, and we'll just see where the world's going to lead us here over the next few months. But I
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you.
everybody's patience. The few emails I have received, I appreciate those, and been some folks send me a couple DMs on social media. I appreciate it. That means a lot. I don't think people understand sometimes when you're going through something, when you just read something positive, even if it's for 30 seconds, that somebody thought of you and somebody cared, or as somebody gave a darn for 30 seconds to say, hey, I'm sorry to hear that you're going through this. Are you all right? Do you need anything? That means a lot in today's world where we're glued to these screens and we're watching this content. For somebody just to take 15 seconds out of their day and go, hey, you all right over there? It means a lot.
Yeah, we're a two-man crew. We don't have a big, company behind us or anything like that. So again, we appreciate your patience. We want to thank you guys for, still
Yes.
visiting the site to read the articles. We will, as I get back into my daily routine after the Labor Day weekend, we'll obviously be, having more stories up on the site, and we'll be having more regular podcasts. But that just want to give you guys the behind the scenes of the Microsoft Unboxed sausage. That being said, where can people find you if they want to give you some well wishes or talk about some gaming this weekend?
David PAJ 1978 over on Blue Sky. Please be glad to talk to you. Be glad to spend some time with you.
Yeah, you can find me at Happy Hulk at Blue Sky. Hulk, as in like the Incredible Hulk. I will be on there talking comics and politics. If you want to talk about gaming or comics as well, you can find me at Kareem Anderson on Threads. I've gone over, even though I'm not a big fan of Mark Zuckerberg, that is still a pretty decent platform, much better than Twitter. So, with that being said, you guys get out of here, go touch some grass, eat some great food, listen to some good music, enjoy a walk, enjoy the breeze, enjoy the rain. If you can, enjoy the weather outside. If you can't, enjoy your AC inside. Either way, enjoy yourselves for just a little bit of time. I'll talk to you guys next week.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate it.